Can you go because I'm trying to do dance? That's as much as I can turn it down. Okay.
All right, hold on.
You can go back in the. Can you take the computer in your little man cave down there?
That's problematic. No, this is like the office up here, but is that better? Or no? Yeah, that's all right. Had. Turn it down. Turn it down more. Hold on. Okay.
Hey there, bud. Sorry, I'm being a pain in the ass.
No. It's all right.
Interrupting family life.
No, it's okay. I just a little curveball with the phone, but it's good. I'll figure it out. I'll figure out what's going on with the phone.
Yeah, that's fine.
So what's up?
So, and I don't want you to. Yeah. So, do you have? And the only other thing you need to do is any type of headphones, whether it's just like earbuds or whatever. So, can you plug those into the laptop? So then, because I'm recording on GarageBand a separate track, so can you plug in any headphones to that computer so you can hear me through the computer?
I could probably hold on. Let me get my earbud.
All right.
My earbuds would probably work, right? I could just connect it with Bluetooth.
Yeah, you could, or any type of thing, like if it has a little earphone jack, any earphones really, any headphones.
Okay. Ooh, I don't know. Hold on. Yeah, do you have your earphones here? Have you used your earphones?
My uniform?
Yeah, where?
Upstairs. I don't know. I have some now.
Are they?
Yeah, because it's just audio.
Oh, that's true. Okay, cool. Okay. All right, never mind. I got it right here. And just let me know when you want me to start tapping.
Yeah, go ahead and record.
All right.
And then I'll try to clear my freaking sinuses out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually read this. I'm going to actually read the blog post that I wrote about you. And it'll take me like 4 minutes. And then after I read the blog post, I'm just going to launch into our conversation.
Bring it.
I have some questions for you.
Bring it.
But that's it. Is that good?
Dude, I'd love to. Yeah, I'm excited.
Okay. All right. Welcome to the show, everybody. I have a blog post that I'm going to read today. Before I introduce our special guest, this is a blog post I wrote December 17th, 2019. And it is called, I'm going to have to restart this because I forgot what the title was.
Bromance.
Bear with me. Yes, exactly. Cancer Friendship Bromance Edition. Hold on. Take 2. Cancer Friendship Bromance Edition. All right. Let's do that again. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. I have a very special guest with me today. But before I introduce him, I'm going to read to you a blog post called Cancer Friendship Bromance Edition. I wrote this on December 17th, 2019. Last Friday evening, I took our 12-year-olds to softball practice at the indoor batting cages in Portland. I was reading a book in the car when I got a text from Sarah, my wife. Can you come home right after practice? Someone is at our house who wants to see you. I've been sworn to secrecy about who. Okay. So we got home, walked through the door, and boom, out jumps this mountain of a man, arms outstretched for a huge bro hug. It was my college roommate, Erik Ingbretson. He had flown to Maine from Chicago without any heads up. We had seen each other only a handful of times in the past 20 years. Turns out I'm not so great at long distance friendships. So here was Erik standing in the middle of our kitchen, holding a stocking full of gifts for our entire family. About a month ago, Erik learned about my stage 4 colon cancer. His wife, Allie, who went to college with us, had read one of my blog posts. Right away, Erik knew what he had to do. He was going to surprise me with a holiday Hallmark moment, bro style. He booked a flight, rental car, and hotel in case, we weren't home. He swore people to secrecy and gave his mission a hilarious and perfectly Erik code name, Operation Christmas Lobster. There are a few things you need to know about Erik. First, the exterior. Barrel-chested, broad-shouldered, jaw made of granite. At the University of Iowa, he earned a walk-on spot on the football team. He used to bench press the couch in our apartment, with Sarah and I sitting on it. For the most part, Erik enjoyed playing the role of Midwestern jock. In high school in Illinois, he was nicknamed the Norwegian Nightmare, thanks to his ferocity on the football field and basketball court, and other places. At Iowa, he was known to chug beer from an oversized glass stein. But beneath that exterior, Erik has always been complex. He's a sensitive soul with a big heart, a strong desire to learn, and more hobbies than anyone I know. Erik is passionate about family, woodworking, metalworking, fishing, cooking, games, history, folklore, ancestry, psychology, and probably much more. Every year, Erik orchestrates a Halloween party for 200 guests in the backyard. For months in advance, the neighborhood kids come over to his house and work with him to engineer and build spooky automated attractions. When Erik showed up last week, we picked up right where we had left off in Iowa, except it was even sweeter. We've matured, thank God. Now we can share our experiences as men with the wisdom time imparts. Late into the night, our conversations flowed from the serious, cancer, life changes, responsibilities, what it's like to be a man in today's world, to the hilarious. Quoting classic movies, remembering the Halloween we dressed up as Canadian basketball players from the 1970s with headbands, wigs, and tight shorts. By the time Erik departed on Sunday, my face hurt from smiling. If there's a medicine for the soul, this was it. Erik didn't come to Maine to say goodbye to me. He fully expects me to survive this cancer, and he hammered that point home many times. No, he came to Maine for kinship. Even though we haven't been in touch, Erik and I are family. If your gut is telling you to visit an old friend, no matter if they have cancer or not, now is the time. If you have a list of excuses for why you can't, write them down on a piece of paper and then burn it in symbolic rebellion. Life can change on a dime. You might not get another chance to spend time together. So book that ticket, get on that plane, show up at that doorstep. You can also call ahead if that's your style. Bring your whole self to the experience. Thank you, Erik. Operation Christmas Lobster, fully accomplished, can take its rightful place in Norwegian lore. I am honored to have the man, the myth, the legend, Erik Ingbretson. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, buddy. It's wonderful to be here. I told myself I wouldn't cry. I told myself I wouldn't cry.
I was just chopping onions. It's okay.
Too early. All right. I'm good.
Okay. I'm good. So we can't now. This blog post is a little bit weird in COVID quarantine because it's not quite as easy to just, jump on a plane and go surprise, your friend. But the message still applies. You can do it in other ways, right? I mean, so hopefully when the world gets somewhat back to normal, people can do this. But first of all, I just want to say thank you. Like that was one of the most kind and generous. Oh, lost my audio there for a second. One of the most kind and generous things that anyone has ever done for me. And wow. Yeah, I'm just kind of speechless at this point, which is hard for me, but I just want to thank you. Thanks, man to man. That meant a lot to me and still means a lot to me to this day. It's one of those things that It's just one of those moments that is unforgettable and will stick with you, you know,
Hmm.
forever.
Absolutely. I mean, when I found out about what you were dealing with, you know,
Right.
I was grocery shopping, and you know, I think I was in the deli aisle, to be honest with you. I may have been looking at turkey or ham or something, and it literally, I can remember it just hit me. I'm like, I have to go. I just have to go. I'm just going to go, and I'm going to surprise them. And
So what did she say? Yeah. So Allie called, she had read this, and what did she say to you? Just, and people also need to know that you call me Vern, because Vern and Allie and Eric, back in college, my nickname was Vern. Don't even need to get into why. So if he mentioned, if you say Vern during this podcast, that's Trevor.
yeah,
So what did Allie tell you?
you know, it was a text saying, hey, you know, Vern is back on social media, and I was just looking at his page, and you know, he's talking about cancer, and I'm like, you know, I just went kind of cold, to be honest with you. And my youngest
Mhm.
daughter Hadley was with me. We were at Mariano's grocery shopping, and you know, I can remember kind of looking like, just kind of being stunned and looking at like the deli counter, just being like, oh my God, like what, like, you know what I mean? It was just kind of one of those moments that it was kind of, I couldn't believe it. It was like, I was in shock. So, and literally the first thing that kind of came into my head was like, okay, what can I do? And I always think about like, what would I like someone to do?
Yeah.
Like, right. Because, you know, I think I'm a kind of an empath, and I was like, how cool. And I just think the concept of a surprise
Yeah.
is like
Yeah.
one of the best things in the world. Right. Because
Yeah. I mean, and you were willing to fully take the risk that maybe we wouldn't even be available. Like, you were just going to come out to Maine from Chicago, and if Trevor and his family are gone for that weekend, you were willing to go all in on that.
well, I'm kind of extreme, as you probably know, right? I go all in, and I just said, for me, even if I went out there and you knew I tried to do it, I wasn't there, that could be just as meaningful. Obviously, I wanted you to be there.
Right.
And believe me, when I talked to a few people here at home about like, hey, do I tell them? Do I not tell them? And I had about 3/4 of the people saying, yeah, you got to tell them. And I'm like, you know what though? It just would take away that visceral just surprise. And I think
Oh man.
that's part of the magic to it, you know. And I had this envisioned in my head, like how it was going to go down.
Yeah. And what made it even more amazing was that, and I fully admit that I have not been a good friend with a lot of the people I was close to in college. Like, I lost touch with pretty much everyone, even you, who I was closest to, my roommate, like I would consider my best friend during college. For whatever reasons, I was going through my own life. Like, I don't get into too much self-condemnation there, but I let those relationships go away, even though I care about you and all of the, people that I was friends with. So for you to hear about me and to take that kind of, ooh, to care about someone that much, even me, who I had not, gone out of my way to be a friend to you, or to reach out to you, or to help you along your way. But you, like, I mean, talk about selflessness. That's one of the things that even struck me even more, that you were willing to do that and rekindle this friendship, even when I hadn't shown you that type of friendship since what are we? How old are we now? we left Iowa in 2000, right? So almost 20 years.
Yeah. 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 No, I mean, I think for me, it wasn't even a question. I mean, I think with some relationships you have in life, it's timeless.
Right.
You know, and I would certainly put that, you know, even though we haven't been in touch, you know, I think sometimes you have those special relationships in your life where you can just pick it right back up. And it felt, you know, even though like there are some people saying, you got to tell them and all this stuff, I was like, you know what, I just had this determination about it. And there was no way I was going to be deterred from doing it, because it was like, how awesome would that be to just show up at the door? And I will say this, I did have to stalk you a little bit. I did do some research on social media, and I kind of was like, okay, it's right before Christmas. He just got back from San Diego.
Uh,
I've seen, doing some treatments around home. I'm like, odds are that he's going to be around. It's the holidays.
yeah. Well, and I'm
Yeah.
jumping ahead a little bit, but like cancer or not, like that trip really provided some redemption for me and allowed me to kind of forgive myself for, like you said, we just picked right back up. We picked right back up and had that relationship is just there. And I could kind of get through this idea of like feeling bad about that we hadn't stayed close because it's right there and it's a beautiful thing. And just, yeah. So thank you. So I get this text from Sarah that someone's at our house and it's a surprise. And I'm like, what the heck? I get home now. So when Erik jumps out at you, you know, all of a sudden there's a 6'3" hairy Viking beast in my kitchen, like jumping out from behind like the sidewall. I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? Are we getting invaded? And I recognize, of course, right away that it's you. And you've got gifts for the girls, smile on your face. Yeah. So, I mean, talk about nailing that moment. Was that what
Yeah,
you had in mind?
I absolutely did. In my mind, it was like I built it up to where it was like you were all at the door, right? And I was just, so it was really close. But it was kind of fun because when I showed up next door at it was your aunt's house,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And they were like, I knocked on their door and it was kind of like a storm. And so it was kind of like this, I was just knocking on the door like, hey, I'm not crazy. I was here 10 years ago. Remember me? When and right away, they actually did recognize me. So, and then I visited with them for like a half an hour.
You make an impression. I'm not sure if you're probably aware of that. So let's talk about cancer. So cancer is a scary thing, right? Can we just put that out there on the table?
Yeah. I mean,
S-
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and so let's talk a little bit about how cancer has impacted your life. So I imagine that, you know, part of the reason that brought you to Maine, obviously it was our relationship, but you've also had cancer impact you and your family in the past. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So my father died of melanoma, so skin cancer, a year after I left Iowa. So I graduated in December of 98, and he was diagnosed in January of 99 and then passed away in December of 99. So it was, kind of a surreal experience. I got back from Iowa, and then all of a sudden, there's just working and going down to the city and adjusting to all that, and then dealing with my father's death. And it was, a profound impact on me. I mean, it was a long, difficult process for all of us. But I think at the end of the day, there's a lot of good that came from it too, in terms of just, how you learn about yourself and being selfless for others, and really what,
Yeah.
kind of the meaning of life. So yeah, it definitely touched me, profoundly. So I think, I certainly have a special place in my heart for people that struggle
Hmm.
with it.
Yeah, I mean that experience as a young man for you, especially, we had a chance to talk about some of the dynamics with you and your dad and your family, um, in a way that we never did, before when you were here visiting. And I think one of the things that struck me, and one of the things that you really encouraged me around with the Man Up to Cancer vision, was sort of this evolution and the ways that men are taught to share or not share about their pain and their experience. And um, seeing your dad go through that, like, he was a pretty tough guy, right?
Yeah, he was. He was, and yeah, like a big burly machinist wrestler type, and he didn't express himself till the very end.
Mm,
And I tell you, there was a very touching time, real quick.
yeah.
He had an estranged brother an uncle that I never met. He was estranged from the family for a variety of reasons. And 2 days before my father passed, he actually cut my father's hair, and we all witnessed it. And it was actually a very touching moment, you know. So, I think at the end of his life, he really reflected on, and, what was really important. And the fact that he and his brother had been estranged went away, and there was just a tender human moment. So it was pretty cool. And I'll always remember that. So even the toughest of guys, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you can't be in touch with, your feelings and emotionality. They're not mutually exclusive, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's such a beautiful story. And when I think about you and your dad, and I think about, that generation, you know, you know, it's not necessarily getting tough, and bringing your toughness is not necessarily a bad thing, but I definitely think there were people of that generation who felt that they weren't supposed to, like, if they weren't feeling good, or if there was something going on with their health, it was just something you didn't talk about, something you didn't get help with, you just sucked it up and pressed on.
Right.
I'm sure that applied to his situation.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was absolutely the way he raised us and the way he carried out his life. And I think it was a function of the times,
Yep.
the 60s, and, just that mentality, right? Milwaukee, Wisconsin, right?
Yep, absolutely.
The Midwestern thing. But yeah, I mean, I think, like at the end, though, I think he really did see the light in terms of, you know, getting in touch with his emotionality and feelings. And I'll tell you, he said things to me at the end of his life that he had never said to me before. And we had some of the more tender moments we'd ever had. In fact, he went from 330 pounds to 130 pounds by the end of his life. And
Wow.
I would carry him in my arms back and forth from the bed to the bathtub. And so, yeah, it's definitely something that, cancer is something that you can't out tough. Doesn't matter how much you bench press or how fast you run, it can humble anybody. So I think at the end of the day, the vision that you're,
Yeah.
bringing into fruition here is really kind of the manifestation of that ideal. It's like, hey, open up about it and let's get help and talk about it.
Yeah. And imagining, that caregiving that you gave to him toward the end of his life. I mean, that's so meaningful for a son to be able to do that, and so hard. I mean, my God, you were what, 20 years old?
Yeah, it was like 22.
22 years old, just getting out of college. He was not an old man at that point.
He's 52.
52 years old. You have a big family. How many
Yeah,
siblings do you have?
I'm the oldest of six.
The oldest of six. All of a sudden, you find yourself in the position of having to really man up
Yep.
in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, go ahead.
No, yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I'm just kind of nodding along with you. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm just, because I remember when we were in college, you know, you were, people kind of knew you as this just amazing athlete, first of all, but just, maybe a little bit of a hard driving meathead at times, but then someone who would just buckle down and disappear for days at a time to study your ass off. Like with your business stuff, you were very driven as a student. And what I remember was, at the time I was thinking you wanted to show people that you weren't one dimensional. But now that and I've learned about your dad and what you were going through, like, I realized that you were driven to make him proud and to make your family proud. And as complex as that is, and we don't need to get all into all of it here, but as complex as that is, that's a good motivation, my man, and mission accomplished, because I know he was always proud of you, and he just didn't know how to show it, like a lot of guys from that generation. And the fact that you're able to show it to your daughters is a testament to both of you.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate those comments. I mean, I think he was too, and I think at the end of the day,
Yeah.
um, I think the way we had to kind of step up and take care of my brothers and sisters, and I think he would have been really proud
Oh,
about everything. But and I think and it's probably just in the last 10 years that I've become more and more open to showing the other side of me,
yes.
the sensitive, complex side, because I always had to, I don't know, I kind of hid it a little, I guess, but because it wasn't necessarily revered in the culture I grew up in, right? At the time, it was kind of like, hey, you're a meathead, be a meathead kind of a thing. But really, I really wasn't. I could kind of play one on TV,
Yes.
but I
Yes.
really, the truth of it is I never really was.
Totally. And so that's funny, because I just jotted down in my notes here, like, because I love complex guys, and guys who you look at and maybe make assumptions about, and then they completely surprise you. As you have gotten older, it sounds like you definitely have gotten better at embracing the complexity in yourself.
Yes, yes. It's been a process. I think it's a journey that I think we all go through. I mean, I'm glad for it. I mean, it's not always been easy to kind of look at like the old dogmas and then move on and evolve. But I had definitely had some help along the way,
Yep.
and which has been amazing. And so I think that I'm just lucky that I'm able to see this next level of my life. Some people never get there.
We talk a lot, man, up to cancer about the the willingness to accept help is a big hurdle for a lot of guys to overcome. But you were able to, like you just said, you have had help along the way, and I hope it's okay to share here that
Yeah,
have seen a counselor and have no shame in that.
absolutely.
And that, but was it, I mean, did you face your own struggle in getting to that point where you're like, damn, I think that I can't do everything on my own and I'm not perfect all the time?
Yep. Yeah, no, it was, I probably started that process, 10, 11 years ago. And I hated it at first, to be, to be frank. I hated it. And I've been seeing the same therapist for 11 years. And I now refer to Christina as my spirit guide. It's more than just my therapist.
Yes.
She's a small, fiery Italian woman. I call her Buddha, depending on the day. But she kind of like, even though she's a third of my size, she didn't take my, didn't put up with anything, and kind of has this great balance of putting me in my place, but also providing a nurturing
Yeah.
side as well. So she's definitely been the spirit guide for me. So she's a big reason that I've hopefully been able to take the next step.
Yeah, it's so cool. I mean, it's so cool that you can be a super strong guy, football player at the University of Iowa, one of the elite programs, and super strong, very manly. Like you can do a lot of stuff with your hands. You're an outdoors person. Like the assumptions one could make of you are that you are just guy, macho all through and through. But then you get to know you, and you have it's like the soft, chewy, chocolatey center.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, just what my dad used to say, Eric, you're a sensitive boy. And he just always used to look at me, and he noticed it early on. And
Yeah.
I just kind of hit it, I guess. But it also has to come out with the right people too, because I think, typically a lot of my guy friendships have not been, it's kind of like, sports related or high fives.
Sure.
But the relationship we had in college was different. I mean, you get it at a deeper level, although you were also a wonderful athlete, a basketball player,
Thank you.
state championship caliber player. You also were very articulate, still are, right? You're very
Yeah.
sensitive. And
Yes.
so I think in a way that was a little bit of a role model for me too, because I was like, hey, you can kind of be both. You can kind of really be both. It
Well, it's
doesn't.
funny you say that because, you were a role model to me. It was like picking up on those other parts of the personality, because I think I definitely was too sensitive at times, and needed a little more toughness in my life. And that's something with cancer that same thing kind of came up, where I felt like I had the emotional part down, the sensitivity part down, but needed to have a little more badass. So tapping into that has been really good. But yeah, you say the word role models, definitely something that I've been thinking about a lot. Is and that's one of the reasons I'm super happy to have you on this show, because I hope that people listen to this and hear that the modern man can be all these things, can be a whole human, be so well-rounded, be emotional, sensitive, strong, tough, can do. The roles and expectations are evolving, and it's something that's individual, but just the idea that you can express your whole self and don't feel like you need to hide it is something that I think is really, we're seeing that evolve in the culture, and I think you're a great example of that.
Oh yeah, thank you. I mean, it took me a while, and it's still a work in process.
Aren't we
You're
all?
right. You're always striving to be better, but I'll tell you, it's a very freeing experience too. really kind of letting go of some of that false dogma and just, embracing a little bit of just who you are, really. You know.
Yeah, and when you talk about like guy friends, I've been digging into some studies around male friendships, and one of the things that really pops out is that most men in America say that they don't have any close friends that they confide in about their their like real feelings, or
Right.
share something deeper than the superficial stuff that guys are comfortable talking about. So that, I mean, that's definitely still, there hasn't been as much progress on that front, I think, as we'd like there to be. I mean, every guy should have some friends that they can confide in and be real about what's going on in their lives, and not have to put up this front of that everything's good and yeah, how are the, you know, Pats are kicking the Bears' ass again, although that might not happen much anymore. But do you know what I mean? Like,
I
so
do.
yeah,
All too well. And, that culture, I grew up in it, I was bathed in it, and, just
Mhm.
the sports culture, and I still, the expectation when I interact with other men sometimes is that I'm like that. And it's actually kind of fun now to, they kind of look at me like, wait, what did you just say? Like, you're like, well, who are you? Are you wearing like a unicorn headset right now? I say, yeah, I am. You know what I mean? So it's okay. You know what I mean? So I think sometimes it throws people for a loop, but I think most of the people in my life love it and embrace it. And I think, you know, going out to see you was obviously mainly for you,
yeah,
but it also had meaning, metaphorically for me. It's part of
yeah.
doing that for somebody else that I care about is part of my evolution too.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, it was one of those weekends where we just stayed up all night, like for however nights, 2 or 3 nights we were there, and just talking and laughing, reminiscing, but also just sharing and talking about our evolution as men, as husbands and fathers, and about, you know, winging it a lot of the times, like, you know, not like, I think one of the things you said a couple minutes ago about, you know, we're not always going to get all the answers right, or and we shouldn't expect ourselves to get everything right all the time, but we should just keep trying.
Yes, yes. No,
So
yeah, never giving in, never giving up. And, that's certainly something that you guys follow in your group. I mean, it's just, you never know what can happen. I mean, I think life, there is some magic to life. I
yep,
firmly believe that. And there's reasons people meet, and there's reasons for things to happen. It's really kind of wonderful in a way.
it's so wonderful. And that's what your visit, I mean, personally, it was like I had this vision of this Man Up to Cancer thing, and, you know, having this message around guys not isolating going through cancer. But I had this vision for it, and I thought I was kind of crazy. I was like, you know, I'd been on and off prednisone. It's a steroid. I was a little wacky. I'm like, man, I have this thing, Man Up to Cancer. I want to do this. And I kind of like was looking to you to like either be like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But instead you're like, oh my God, that's magic, dude. Like, you got to go for it. Like, you believed in me at a point where it was really important for me to hear, you know, someone say, other than my family, be like, you know what, dude, this sounds amazing. You should go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, when you saw me out to the airport, it was less like, hey, I know you're going to go kick ass, and you have been kicking ass, and you are kicking ass.
Yeah. And you too. I mean, I know that COVID has come along and kind of changed the world, and who knows what things are. And that's the thing, like, change is inevitable, right? Change is going to happen no matter what. So, you know, as a man in today's modern world, you got to be ready for what it throws at you. Tell me about how you're, yeah, like thinking about all this change that's coming at us. And do you have any plans or changes in your personal life that are coming up, or what's on your horizon right now?
Yeah. So, well, there's a lot. I mean, I think to answer your question directly, I mean, I think it's been tough. I mean,
Mm,
I think isolation, is just really difficult for all of us. I've seen, my children be estranged from their friends, and,
right.
having a virtual graduation. And it just, I feel most bad for our children, just I couldn't imagine going through what they're going through when I was in, a child, my
Same.
oldest daughter in 8th grade,
Yeah.
And so, but I do think, like anything else, I do think that it has given us all cause to pause a little bit and reflect on what's important. And I think it's forced us to spend more time with each other, which is, with our families and whoever we are quarantining with.
Yes.
And I think that can be a good thing. It put a little pause button on life, and it can't go on forever. But I don't think I think there's a lot of good that can come from that. And for me too, personally, there's a lot of, I think I'm just getting started. I'll be 44 next week, and hopefully I have a lot of interesting chapters ahead. I've got a crazy notion of maybe changing careers here someday and becoming a therapist, which is kind of crazy. But I've been a banker for 21 years, and I love being a banker. But I just feel like I might have a calling for something more altruistic.
Oh man, like I told you when you visited, I feel the same about you, and you're already helping. You're a helper. Like you help so many people, and you're so thoughtful and thinking about others. And I feel like that transition is just going to be the next phase of that, if that happens. And it's okay if it doesn't. But wherever you decide to take your helping is going to make an impact, whether that stays in banking, goes into therapy, or whatever you choose to do with it. So
absolutely.
yeah, keep kicking ass. So we're going to start to wind down, but I would be wow, I would be remiss if I did not mention a couple of the shenanigans.
Oh no.
From the University of Iowa days.
Oh no.
Circa 1996 through 2000. Yeah, I mean, okay.
Oh God. Dear Lord.
Well, I know my kids are going to be listening to this, and I do feel deep shame, but I have to be honest. My 21st birthday was a little bit of a blur.
Oh God.
Okay, yeah. I just want to read off a couple. So there's a couple names here.
Oh God.
There's something called wooden floor. There's the dead Mexican goat, and then there's the cement mixer. These are just a couple of the horrendous shots that I drank on my. Now, I'm a stupid 21-year-old kid from Maine out in the middle of the Big Ten country in Iowa, and I'm just being honest here. I do not condone any of this, but it happened.
It did happen. I can remember that night very distinctly, and just to prove that I was a helper, I do recall calling the University of Iowa hospital saying, okay, my roommate had like at least 24 shots. Like, and that's not an exaggeration. I think it was legitimately 24 shots, and they were all nasty, to your point. So there were no like, lemon drops or anything like that.
Right. No. There was no friendly, it was like,
it was hardcore.
Talk about meathead macho culture, right? Like so stupid.
Yeah.
But it happened.
It happened. And I can remember calling, and it was I just remember a lot of throwing up after that.
Oh, I was fine. I woke up in the bathtub.
Right. But you know what? The good news is you survived. We all go through that, we all have one of those. We all have one of those issues. It's part of growing up.
I know. And I don't want to give people the wrong impression. Like, the Stein and the 21st birthday, like, yes, we definitely had our partying times, but we actually we were good kids. Definitely went down the road a little too far sometimes, but we were good kids having a good time, and man, it was a blast. But I do need to issue a public apology to several sororities on Iowa Avenue right around the year 2000, 1999, because Eric and I had this thing where when one of us would be in the shower, we'd be in the shower just enjoying a nice hot shower, and then the other one would come in with just a jug of frozen cold water and just douse the other person in the shower. Now, there was this one time I got Eric particularly good, dousing of cold water. And here is, again, 6'3", hairy Viking man. He is covered in soap. And so he jumps out of the shower and starts chasing me. I run out of the apartment. I run down Iowa Avenue, and he is chasing me down Iowa Avenue completely naked. And there are sorority houses everywhere. Is this true?
Yeah, that may be true. It was, yes, I can distinctly remember the horrific scene that transpired, and I was almost netted by the animal control. They thought I was,
There was a
they,
Sasquatch alert that was
yes,
put out.
yes, I was a loose cryptid running down. There was many calls into the local police department, but I did get you. I think I did catch you eventually
Oh,
and
you
make you
did.
pay for your cold water transgressions.
Oh, I paid many a time. I can't even get into the things that happened that I paid. But that was one of the best. And I still remember the just women like just fleeing. Just
Yes,
it was mass panic.
it was, yes, yes, women and children fleeing everywhere, diving for cover. Yeah, but it's those things that build memories, right? You know, it's those types of things. That's why you go out to Maine to see your buddy.
Uh,
Is you know, if you're comfortable enough to chase him naked with soap all over you, you can go to Maine.
I mean, I ran like my life depended on. I mean, I'd never run so fast in my life. I think I could have walked on Iowa football right then. They would have signed me.
You were, yes,
Um,
yes, you were flying, man.
what else? What else? I mean, just
Oh God.
finding pickup basketball games at any time at the field house at any time, day or night. I mean,
Yeah, and
there's 20 courts there, and people had games like 24/7.
yeah, it was such a great time in your life because it's just like very weird, like cool, weird time between
Yeah.
childhood and adulthood. You're like about to turn, you know, get a career and have a family and do all these adult things, and you know, but it's this really good transition where you really kind of start finding yourself and learning how to live. And you know, I think some of the things I remember too about college with you in particular was just some of the meals we used to have. We would go out, you know, and we would go out to like the Village Inn. I'm thinking about some of these places, right?
Oh my
And
gosh.
just, you know, these dirty spoon restaurants, and just eat and talk. And you know, I think those were great moments too, just getting to know each other. And you know, even at the level we were able to in our 20s still have a deep conversation over a meal.
I
So
mean, I would go to the airliner if I could meet you at the airliner for some pizza tomorrow. I would do it.
I'm there. Yeah, I'm there. I mean, I just think you can't. We're so lucky to have the experience we did in college.
Oh my gosh.
We're very, very lucky. You know, although we've only seen each other a handful of times, I've talked about you to many, many people
Oh,
in
same here.
my professional life and friends, and you know, just some of the crazy stories. And I still have some of the pictures. In fact, I may have a picture of me jumping out of the shower. It's completely X-rated, but I don't know who
Oh,
snapped. I don't know who snapped it,
I,
but yeah, it's horrifying.
I'm pretty sure it's Allie, but
Yeah, it could have been.
yeah.
Could have been more than likely.
No, I mean, you're nailing it. And people don't want to talk about, you know, and I didn't want to talk about it for a long time. This idea about the gifts of cancer, right? Like, especially when you're looking mortality right in the face, you don't want to hear like, oh, but think about all the good things that have happened. But you get to a point, I've definitely gotten to a point where I can see those things. And,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, you reaching out to me and rekindling our friendship and getting to know you again at this point in my life, I don't think that would have happened unless there had been you know, maybe wouldn't have been cancer, but something, but cancer did that.
It did.
And I'm appreciative for that. And I respect you and love you. And I thank you for your role in my life. And I'm excited to have you in my life for years to come.
You said it very well, my man. I love you too, and I'm super excited about having you back in my life. And you know, I'm certainly recommitting myself to our friendship. You know, even though we're half a country away,
Mm.
you never know when I could show up again.
Well, no, and
You never know.
in our that's true, and in our spirit of reciprocity, you know, I may have some tricks up my sleeve as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
look out. Be on the lookout.
I just think, yeah, the whole idea of a surprise, you can't really beat it, right? There's something to be said about planning, but it's like sometimes you say, screw it, just go do it, and just go for it, right? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Just be there for people that you care about and that are worth going across country for, and you're worth it. You are worth it.
Thank you, brother. You are too. So I got your back during this craziness. You got mine. And
Yes.
and I do want to get up on what I mean, eventually when the dust clears and we, get some space from all this, I think not only are there more surprises to be had, but I think some trips. I've heard about places in Canada that you've gone to that are just
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
they're like these
Oh
legendary places that I think you make up, but apparently they're real.
no, you know
But
what? It's a great point. That would be a fantastic.
I just invited myself to your guy trip, by the
Done. I mean,
way.
yeah, Canada is a magical place for me. I think you would be a wonderful addition to our guy trips up to Canada. I think I'm hoping I can go back next year. It's kind of been every other year, but I would love to. I would love to do that.
All right, and we'll get you back here out in the Blair Witch area of Maine and
Yes.
put you out in the woods and just scare the hell out of you.
Yeah. And Vern, I do have to say real quick, I don't know if I told you this, but when I was coming out to see you, when I was getting my connection airline, I almost missed my connection flight,
Oh my god!
which was the Cape Air, this small little regional airline.
Oh yeah.
Cape Air. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Cape Air. They actually waited for me, and I was like, it was a proverbial me wait, and it was a propeller driven little plane that made the last leg, to the mission.
Yeah, it's John Hughes. It's a John Hughes film moment. Like this whole thing, we gotta. I don't know. We should put together a screenplay and sell this.
Done. No, I thought it was better than any cheesy Christmas special. When I was at Target, I was telling everybody what I was about to do. They were complete strangers. They're like, I don't know you, but it's amazing. Go get them. So it was just, everyone was kind of cheering me on,
See, the only thing that needs to be changed for the TV version for the movie is that the guy with cancer needs to live at the end. Why does the guy with cancer always die?
But clearly you're going to be around a long, long time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
This is a happy ending.
Yeah, exactly. Which doesn't sell well, but hey, let's go with it.
Let's go.
Right. All right, my man. Thank you very much. I love you.
Love you too, buddy. It's wonderful to reconnect.
All right, we'll talk soon.
See you, buddy. Bye.